Breaking news into CNN. Sources tell my colleague Melanie Zanona and me that former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is expected to step down from Congress before the end of his term. Politico was first to report. Let's get back to Melanie Zanona on Capitol Hill. So, Melanie, we're both hearing that McCarthy plans to stick around through the vote for the speakership, right? But then his future in the House is uncertain, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And in talking to sources who are close to Kevin McCarthy, they are expecting him to leave before the end of his term. This is something that he has been toying with. And he even said in a closed-door conference meeting after he was removed as speaker that he wants to go home and spend time with his family. But he does want to stick around at least through the rest of this speakership election. He really wants to make sure that the conference, which has been so chaotic over the last few days especially, is calm and steady before he leaves. Now, he doesn't plan to get involved in the speaker's race. We're told he's not expected to endorse any candidate, but he does want to be around to really see this through. And keep in mind, this is a huge seismic shift for the party. Kevin McCarthy came to Congress in 2007. He was a state lawmaker in California before that. He has spent his entire adult career in politics. He came to Congress, he worked his way through the leadership ranks. He's held multiple leadership roles over the years, and he tried to become speaker back in 2015. And at that time, the House Freedom Caucus denied him the gavel, but he kept fighting. He eventually became the leader of his party. And when they took the majority last year, you remember that January vote, it took him 15 rounds to become speaker, and he did finally get there. But Kevin McCarthy says he has no regrets about how he acted during speaker, whether it was the bipartisan debt ceiling deal that we saw earlier this summer or his decision, his consequential decision on Saturday to put a stopgap funding bill on the floor to fund the government, which ultimately led to his ouster earlier this week. But again, just so much uncertainty in the Republican Party because we still don't know who is going to replace Kevin McCarthy. At the moment, we have an acting speaker, an interim speaker. That's Patrick McHenry of North Carolina. But two men are vying to replace Kevin McCarthy. That is Jim Jordan, the House Judiciary Chair, and Steve Scalise, the #2 Republican, who has also been in leadership right behind Kevin McCarthy for many, many years. So we're going to have to see how this all plays out next week. But as of right now, it looks like Kevin McCarthy might not be sticking around in Congress, though he could still be involved politically as someone who is a strong fundraiser and someone who's very plugged in to Republican politics. Pam.
Yeah, a very significant move. So many members have come out and essentially said that this ousting had to do with him being trustworthy, but we should note his final act as speaker was to come to a consensus to keep the government open.
Mm-hmm. It absolutely was. And what's interesting here is you noted that he is considering leaving Congress altogether after the speakership election. But it's interesting that he also wants to sit this out with the election, right? He's not throwing his support behind either candidate right now. Both had actually voted for him to stay in the speakership. And we expect that to continue, right? We expect him to continue sitting this out, right, Melanie?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, he has Jim Jordan, who has actually become a really close ally of Kevin McCarthy, which has been just a fascinating transformation to watch because Jim Jordan once ran against Kevin McCarthy for the role of leader of their party, but he became an ally and has been a very vocal supporter of Kevin McCarthy. And then you have Steve Scalise, who has been a deputy of Kevin McCarthy's. There's been some sort of tepid relationship between the two of them over the years because Steve Scalise was long seen as a potential rival against Kevin McCarthy one day. But at this moment, Kevin McCarthy does not want to get involved. He doesn't think his voice at this point would be any helpful to really uniting the bitterly divided conference. So he is happy to stay on the sidelines right now. But like I said before, he still wants to ensure that the party is able to steer in the right direction, that they're able to come together and eventually settle on a new speaker.
And bring us in very quickly into his mindset of wanting to leave Congress after the election, and how the ouster played into that.
Well, look, I mean, once you're deposed as the speaker, I don't know what role you could really play, at least in leadership for Kevin McCarthy. There probably wouldn't be a role for him to play in leadership. So do you really want to serve as a backbencher member of Congress after you held all this power before? I mean, we did see Nancy Pelosi, though. I think, she was former speaker, and when she stepped down, she decided to stay in Congress. So not entirely out of the realm of possibility for Kevin McCarthy, but at this point, the expectation is he will resign from Congress at some point.